Say you're a wonderful group. When I saw you yesterday night sitting together as a group of conductors, that is seldom. Yes, normally I visited some master classes when I was a student, and they were not really talking to each other. There was so strange atmosphere, I remember. But I really appreciated that you're talking to each other and criticizing and discussing things. That is something. Yes. I do not really know where to start because there are so many things I saw, and I'm very happy that you take my impulses. That yes, I see everybody growing in these 3 days, 4 days, and I'm very happy with that. Yes. I want to talk about many things today. First, I'm very old-fashioned in the sin that I have an incredible respect for those composers who wrote music that still interest the whole world. If you conduct Brahms' symphony, or Mozart, or Dvorak, or all these really fantastic composers, it's a wonder that still the whole world has an interest for these compositions. So there is a secret about the quality of these pieces. And of course they are done millions of times, but I still try to look every day fresh into these scores. And I think it's our job to keep this tradition and to really not do something, but try to come as near to the work as possible. And I feel that some of you have not enough questions. Not enough questions. Of course, there are notes, there are harmonies, there is a form, there is a tempo, there's many things, but I think there are a lot more things than only this. And I feel that many of you do not know where the questions are. Yes. Feldman, do you know the composer, of course? Yes, Morton Feldman? Yeah, fantastic composer. He wrote, no, he did not wrote, but there exist two wonderful books with his lessons in America. I do not remember the title, but you will find that. Morton Feldman. It's in English and German, and it's fantastic. And he in one moment asks, how can I know what I not know? This is a fantastic question, is it? How can I know what I not know? Which is so hard to, yes. And that's why I want to later look into some scores and just look together into these scores to find questions. As I told, I'm not so interested in answers, because answers fix things, and if you know how things work, they already die. But if you come to a result, in that moment you come to a result, you should again ask. Yes. Petrenko, for example, when you see him working with the Berlin Philharmonic, I hope you one day have the chance to just listen to his rehearsals. In the first break, he leaves the stage, he goes into his room, and he looks into the score. And after the break, already he corrects himself, not only the orchestra. And after the first performance, he immediately goes into his room and learns and goes on studying. And I saw the Berlin Philharmoniker, they came to Köln with the tournée, and that was the 4th or 5th concert. And he rehearsed, he rehearsed 3/4 of an hour with this orchestra. The pieces they already played 4 times. That's what I'm talking about. He does not rest to really search for the piece. Yes, and big masters as Karajan and Bernstein, all those. If you compare the first recordings with the late, they are really very different, and they try to come closer to a result. Yes, of course, there is not only was heißt Wahrheit?
Truth.
Yes, there is not only one truth. Of course not. But some things you can come nearer to the piece or not. Yes, you will never get the piece, never. Otherwise we would not have any interest for this music. But you can come nearer and nearer and nearer, and it will yes. Yeah, do you understand what I mean? Yeah. And I must ask you a question. Why so many of you did not learn the score by heart? If you visit a master class, and I would come and have the score, of course, but only for the rehearsals. You should know the piece here. Yes, even in this sense, I am very old-fashioned. Of course, you can have the score, no problem. You can turn pages. Klemperer was a master, and he knew all the pieces here, but he always turned pages. Yes, and there are some very famous conductors turning pages in each concert, but they have it in their mind. And if you turn pages and look into the score, you lose the orchestra. You lose them, because your view is so important that you really look into the main lines. Yes, the score. If you come to an orchestra that has to do with, for me, with respect and responsibility for the musicians also, you have to be absolutely vorbereitet, prepared. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You have to be better prepared than the orchestra. If you are a pianist, you have hours and hours at home, you practice, and you have the result at home. Then you go on stage. You would never go on stage half prepared. Never. But many conductors come to a rehearsal and look, oh, what's going on the next page? Oh, really, did you play or not? Yeah, that is not possible. That is not possible. Yeah. I think some of you could have been better prepared. Yeah. You should start on a higher level. Yes. And one more. This orchestra has a level, and our job is to, in the first rehearsal, to abholen, wie sagt man? Abholen, das Orchester abholen.
Pick them up.
To pick them up on the level of the orchestra. Und zwar on the level they can do, not lower, not a bit lower. And then your job is to let the groove until the concert, and the climax should be in the concert. Yes, but never conduct schlechter als das Orchester. Also wie sagt man? Worse than the orchestra. Yes, yes. That makes them die. Yeah, and they will hate you after a week. Yeah, this orchestra is incredibly friendly. They have patience, they sit there, they do again and again. And for so many conductors, that is very hard. If you're a musician and every 10 minutes the conductor is changing, the energy is changing, the language is the beat, everything is changing. That is very hard for orchestra. And they were so, yes, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, this chance to work with this orchestra. Fantastic, yes. Okay, so I'm talking about responsibility for the musicians and the composers. And I think this is the basic thing to think and to bring this into the world. Because we have had fantastic performances from all these pieces, of course. Yeah, but there's, yeah. Okay, now I want to talk about some basic things. There are many famous books from conductors, from BOHN, from Kleiber, from many. Most of them start with the theme of tempo. Most of them. There seems to be a difficulty to find the tempo. And not only to find it, but to keep the tempo. You felt that this today again, yes. And what is tempo? And how do I find tempo? In the Baroque time, how did the musicians know the tempi?
With the heart, with the position of the heart.
With the heart? No.
You mean
No.
like the stick, like they'd beat the stick fully?
No, that was to make them play together. Yes, but how did the musician knew about the tempo?
Well, a typical Baroque suite often had very common high-class dances of the time, which were very traditional in a sense, which all of them knew, which maybe nowadays we don't know
Really?
well anymore.
Really, it's a secret. In those times, the people knew the tempi, and there was a special notation, and they saw 3/8 bar. 3/8 bar was it was clear, and 16s were 16s, and 30s. 30 seconds was just, yes. And nowadays, people think you can play Bach in each tempo. Of course, you cannot. They knew the tempi in those times. They knew the tempi, so it was no discussion about tempi. You will not find anything about tempi because you could see that from the score. Yes. So. Brahms, for example, just an example, he was very old-fashioned like me. He looked backwards, the whole time backwards. And he was fascinating from old music and not from modern music, not at all. So he studied contrapoint with all the old contrapoint, and he studied the dances and the notation. So when Brahms is writing a 3/8 bar, as in your and as in your piece, he could have written this movement in 3/4, of course, and he could have written poco allegretto, and many people would change the same tempo. So there is a reason why he's notating this in 3/8. And the reason is that he knew that 3/8 was a light tempo and not a heavy tempo. So this is very difficult to find, the tempo, because if it's too fast, you lose the melancholy and the lines. But it's too slow, you lose the grazioso, you lose the lightness, you lose, yes, and these quasi-walls in the middle part. Yes. Yeah. Beethoven was very close to the early classic and the classic, very close. It was still there in his mind, yes? So his tempi should be orientated on Mozart and Haydn, yes, not on Brahms. Yes, okay. So to think about the tempo is extremely important, and the headlines, allegro, ma non troppo, espressivo, very often are only something on top of it. Yes? If you would not have these headlines, you should see from the structure and the notation that you should know the tempo from that. Yes. And now, mainly you find the tempi if you find the character. So if you find the character, you find the tempo. Not first find the tempo and then do the tempo and put the character in the tempo. Yes, that's the wrong way. Yes, but try to find the character, and with the character you find the tempo. And the other point, to keep the tempo, that's another thing. That's another thing. That's another story. Okay, so this is a big theme, tempo. The other thing is dynamic. Forte. What is forte? It does not mean anything. It does only mean in Zusammenhang mit, in context with the instrumentation, in context of the form, in context of the piece. Forte is nothing. It does not mean anything. It's just loud. Yes, and a forte is, and I so often see only forte, but not the quality of forte. And it's very simple to say to the musicians, forte, please, because that does not mean anything. You have to formulate which forte, yeah, and you have to know who is leading the forte, and what. Yes, in Brahms, for example, in Brahms it's very, very difficult because he starts quite soon with forte, and then comes later forte again, and again forte, and again, and these qualities should be very different. So yes, Tchaikovsky also. The first fortissimo new movement is very early. Yes, if it's too much already, you will never come to an end. Yeah, and Tchaikovsky he had the idea to put more forte. So he has 3 and 4 and 5, sogar 6. In the Pathétiques, I think it's 6. Yeah. So he tried to learn us to build more and more. Brahms does not. He's like Beethoven, forte, fortissimo. Very seldom 3 forte and 3p in extraordinary moments. Yes. 3p in Brahms, 3p in Beethoven are extraordinary moments. Yes, then you really have to work for that. Yeah, but instrumentation, the instrumentation is so important that you decide the quality of forte. And in so many upbeats, I do not see the quality of the sound. I only see the upbeat, and you beat into the music without any sense for the sound, for the structure of the sound. Yeah, please look into the scores and really try to find out where die Grenze, the Klanggrenze, the
limits.
The limit, yes, yes, that is a fantastic. It's a very interesting question. Yes, where's the limit for a piece? Of course, a Tchaikovsky symphony has another limit than a Mozart symphony. Yes, der Rahmen. The border, yes, no. The frame, yes, that's the word, thank you. I remember. After this I will speak English better. The frame of each piece is different, no?
Yes, you're the translator, the official translator.
I don't need it.
No. No, I don't want. No. Yes, the frame of each piece is different. So a climax in a Haydn symphony is, of course, really different from Brahms or something else. Yes, and in the big forms, the different climaxes should have different weights. So you have to really have a disposition that, for example, in this movement, where's the climax? Sorry?
There's few of them.
No, never a few. Never a few, only one. Of course, they are small, it's like mountains. One is the highest. In Brahms music, one is the highest. In Bruckner, it's the end of the Bruckner 8th. It's the end of the last movement. In this movement, it's the end. Yes, the whole movement.
The last 4 pages.
Yeah, but where is it? It's one moment. That's the climax. It's very at the very end. Yeah, there, and only there. Yes. And in romantic music, we do not only have a climax, we have an anticlimax. We have both. Brahms, yes, he knows there is, wie sagt man, Tiefpunkt, sagt man das? Low point. There is in all the movements there is the low point and a climax, and you really know how to disposition, how to do the disposition for yes, have climaxes more and more, yes, and yeah, okay, now I have to talk about active phrases and passive phrases. This is one of the main rules in music. As in our language, sentences lead to something, and you could have the most energy in the beginning, or in the end, or in the middle, or. So, if you have a phrase, for example, we take Mozart, ti-da-da, 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 di. That is a typical active phrase with a climax in the long note. Ta-da-da, ta-da-da, ta-da-da-da. This is an active way, ta-da-da, ta-da-da, ta-da-da-da. Now it's a typical passive phrase, ta-da-da, ta-da-da, ta-da-da-da. So, there do not exist any phrases which have not this rule inside. Yes, you have active moments and passive moments. Wie sagt man Schwerpunkte?
Schwerpunkte are emphasis.
Emphasis? You have weight, light, or lightweight.
Ich verstehe es, aber
Yeah, you understand. Yes, for example, the phenomenology of the half bar is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Or 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have schwer, heavy, less heavy, little heavy, quasi not heavy. So it's 2 different, yes? 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 3/4 bar, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that is the phenomenology of these von den Taktarten, of the yes. And composers, they underline this or they compose against it. So you have to know whether it's against it or not. That means we have active phrases who can be introvert, and we have active phrases who can be extrovert. We can have passive phrases who can be introvert, and we have passive phrases who can be extrovert. So the sun in the morning is going active, extrovert in the sky, and it's midday, it's active but introvert. Yes, the light is going down. So that means for the music, active phrase, but the harmonies perhaps in the same moment can be extrovert. Yes, against it. So these two Kräfte, yes, these two powers, that's very simple. These two sounds, they work against each other. Mozart is working extremely often with this. Yes, he writes something active melody, but passive harmony. In Egmont Overture, we have the fantastic, in the interlusion, we have a passive line, but active harmony. So Beethoven works with it, with these two powers, yes?
Where in Egmont? I didn't...
Wir haben über die Stelle gesprochen, über die Einleitung.
Ah.
In der Einleitung, in the interlusion, yes, yes. And
The wind, when you start on the weak beat, but you have harmony that goes up and up, basically.
yes, but the structure of, yes, that goes down, yes. And if you know that, that is another, you have this Widerstand, resistance. Yes, you feel the resistance. If you do not know, that's another thing, yeah. So that's why I really ask you to really know about these ways, about the way of the harmony and of course of the melodies, yes, and the instrumentation. There are so many possibilities to underline or not underline, and these resistance in music is so important, yeah. Okay, what else? What I wanted to talk about? Yes, another thing I would like to talk about. There are many words for slowing down. We know ritardando, we know poco ritardando, we know ritenuto, we know allargando, we know zögern, I don't know what the word, céder en français. Rallentare, yeah, but CDs zögern is less. Yeah, and we know to relax, to let it, yes. And there are many different to slow down. Yeah. Very often, music comes to a climax, and then after the climax, the music relaxes, yes, but these relaxing passages you should not really conduct, but let them happen. Yes, a master of this is Debussy. It's a pity we did not work on Debussy, but because Debussy is the master of composing phrases, active phrases and passive phrases which happen without any you really do not have to conduct them because sie passieren. Yes, they just happen by themselves. Yes, and even in Brahms' music, you have many moments like that. If the disposition of the long phrase to the top is perfect, you just can leave it, and the way back is, yes, works from himself, from itself. Yes. Okay. Now let's look into some some scores. Did you bring, perhaps we start with Beethoven's second movement. Do you have the score? That would be fine if you could perhaps yeah, but bring it. Yes. I wait a second. Bring them. That would be fine.
Which symphony?
Second symphony, second movement. Second symphony, second movement.
Aufnahme ist besser, dass jemand nimmt das Mikrofon. Danach kann man besser hören. Jeder, der spricht von Schüler,
Yes, but I don't know how it's,
Okay.
you know, I don't know.
Sie das dann?
Ja,
I don't know the lines or.
Schüler geben.
okay. Yes.
Does it work?
Yeah, it's work, but sometimes we're losing signal for example, and I just another one. Right here.
Oh, there's it.
Ja, super. Super. Ja, fantastic. Fantastic.
You need the Beethoven second?
We have.
Okay.
Okay, are we all there? No. No, we're waiting. Just wait.
Was meinen Sie, wenn Sie über Resistance,
Resistance, Widerstand?
Widerstand zwischen Harmonie und Melodie?
Ja,
Okay.
genau. Also Widerspruch eigentlich.
Okay.
Und durch den Widerspruch entsteht eine gewisse
Ja.
Resistance. Genau. Okay. Second movement. Okay. Now we talked about questions. I try to ask questions. the questions I would do. Yes, if I get this score, I would ask. First, I would see it's in A major. The key of a symphony is very important to know why did Beethoven write in D major? Why did Brahms took this key for the second symphony? Of course, he could have written something in F major, but there are secrets about all the keys, because keys have tradition, and if you write a piece, for example, in G minor, everybody will compare this with Mozart's G minor. If you write a C major piece, everybody will compare this with the C major of the Jupiter Symphony of Mozart. Mozart really had an incredible sin for keys, and of course he bezieht sich.
He relates.
He relates to other pieces from earlier times. So there is a tradition in.
Refers, maybe not
Yes, refers. Yes, that's better. So there is a tradition of keys and its meaning. So F major is for pastorale, for example, and Beethoven, of course, wrote his F major pastorale. If you have an F major movement in a B flat major symphony, the composers would write something pastoral. Yes, and so this A major is traditionally has to do with love and love scenes, and Brahms because he had his consciousness, he wrote amabile pieces in A major. Yes, the D minor piano concerto is of course dramatic piece. The B flat major piano concerto is the opposite of it. It's like the 595 from Mozart. So there are yes, that is the first question, and you will see this is what he is writing. It's a love duet. Yes, we talked about that. The next question is, he's writing 3/8 bar. Why not 3/4? So that shows me it should not be a real slow tempo. That's not possible. And the bowings show me that he thinks in double bars. You see in bar 1, 2, the cello is a double bar. Then you have in bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the double bar in the viola and cello, and in bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 the double bar in the violin, in one bow. That is not bowing, but it's thinking. Yes, all these Bindungen, wie sagt man, Liaison?
Both slurs in this case.
These slurs, yes, these slurs are not bowings. No, they are structure. Yes.
Ich glaube, es ist bei Ihnen anders als in unserer Varietät. Dürft ihr mal ganz kurz reinschauen? Bei uns sind die nämlich einzelne Bögen.
Ah, that is the old, very bad score. Yeah. Oh yeah, throw away.
But the notes are the same.
Yes, you should have Bärenreiter in this question.
I have it on my iPad. I don't have the physics.
No, it's okay. No, I just want to say yes.
Breakup, there is no what you said also. It's only on Bärenreiter.
Yes, this is in this sense the best we have. Yes, I'm very happy we have this. So now I would try to look for the first phrase. This is da di 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 da 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 di 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 do di di do. So we have 8 bars as usual. Yes. The main line is, of course, the first violin in the beginning. Then we, in the third bar, the viola and the cello play together in the end where the trill is, and in the fourth bar they start with the duet quasi. Yes, dee, 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 and then there's the imitation, and it brings it together with a crescendo. There is one point I did not hear at all. In the second violin and viola in the second bar, we have the entrance in the third beat. This is a quasi-syncopish, and this is against the phenomenology of the beat. It should be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yes, and this syncope should be more, of course, because it's quasi the wrong entrance. In the third bar, he could have written. You could have started all together in the one. No, yes, that is something you did not recognize.
Where is this bar exactly?
Second bar.
Second bar.
Second bar. Second violin and viola.
So here it goes against the phenomenology.
Of yes, because. We have one bow, dee, 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 and then the cello, dee, dee, pa comes in the second violin with the viola. And then he mixes, that's very tricky. He mixes the entrance and then he doubles the cello with the viola. So there are two different things, yes? So then there comes the double bar with the melody, with the chromatic, and then the conclusion, the couple comes together in the double bar with a crescendo. Now, in the subito piano is of course important, and then we have the double bass. Why did he mark the double bass with dots, or what is the word for Keil?
Wedge. A wedge.
Ah, wedge.
Wedge.
Ah, wedge. Okay. Whatever. He marks it with dots. Why?
Spiccato, no?
What would be the difference if he would not have done, if he would have not have written dots? What do you think?
Because I think the dots indicate that he wants the notes separated from each other instead of...
Yeah, he wants them separate. And that's the first sign for this boom, 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 for this dancing. Yes, this is a typical dance cadence in a 3/8 bar. Yes, and you should have shown them more this, yes, this lightness of this cadenza. He waits with the double bass until this moment. Yeah? Okay, now the next passage is a variation of this. Yes, and we spoke about the clarinets. So we have the clarinet upbeat, and then we have an imitation, and he doubles it with viola, cello, and double bass. So that's quite a lot, no? And now it's separate bowings, which is quite interesting, and we have the horn, and then we have the chromatic moment in bar 12, which is the same as in bar 4, and before this you should separate, because dee, 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 the beginning of the bow in those times was the main note. Yes, that was a rule. It's not dee, 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 dee. This would be a romantic idea. But the start is dee, 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 and then comes the crescendo against the rule. Yes, and you have to know that Beethoven writes many things against rules. Yes, we lost the rules, so we do not know that it's against rules. Yes, so you have to know about the rules, and many musicians do not know these rules because we lost them. Yes, and that makes a big difference if you know that it is against the rule, this crescendo.
Any good book with all those?
Yeah, many good books. There are all these fantastic schools from Leopold Mozart and Christian Bach and Turk and. You really should study them. You really should study them. Yes, and you will They are fantastic to read. I do not know whether the English is so good, but in German they are really, really nice.
For
Sorry?
example, the Violinenschule.
Yeah, the violin
Aber
school.
das habe ich this I have found only in Google Books, but in Altdeutsch. Und handgeschrieben, also die
Frakturschrift.
Frakturschrift. Ja, aber das ist unmöglich für mich.
Yeah, that's very hard for you. It's, yeah.
Sehr gewöhnungsbedürftig.
But it must be in English. There must be a transition.
I think it's in Spanish.
Yes, in Spanish also. Ja.
Ich habe auch eine Frakturschrift zu Hause.
Ja, ich auch natürlich. Ja. Das lese ich. Ich habe kein Problem damit. Ja.
Mozart's treatises in many languages.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure. All these big schools. Okay. Okay. So let's have a look at bar 48.
We have no bar numbers.
You have no bar numbers. Do you have letters?
We have nothing.
You have nothing.
This one,
But you have the piano. Do you have this the first pianissimo moment?
it's where the violins go up to the.
Okay.
We found it.
You found it. Okay. So look at the bass line. We have a D sharp, we have a E, we have the F sharp, that is the line D, do, D, do, D, do. And we have da, dee, da, da, dee, 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 dee. So we have two main lines. Which is the leading line? We have to decide.
Is that a question for the room?
It's a question for all of you. Yes.
Well, then the first violin line.
That is the first violin, yes. And the contrapoint is the cello line, yes. But we have to conduct both, and we have to decide decide the balance. No? Yes. Not only the first violin. Otherwise, we lose this duet. Yeah, that's very important. Now, this is a wonderful phrase to speak about passive and activeness. The cello line is active in the sense D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, pop, 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 pop. Yes, the first violin is dee 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 dee. There is something passive, so it's really against each other. Yeah, and that would be fantastic to know about that. So the first violin leads the beginning of the phrase, and at the end the cello is more important. Then they come together. Yes, and in bar 52 we have the duet between second violin and oboe. And we have the cello line, we already heard, so this is a variation of the same process. Yes, it's a quasi-variation. And you should know that it is a variation and change your, wie sagt man, Haltung, wir hatten das Wort schon mal, ich habe das nachgeguckt, the posture, ne? Is that word? Yes, the posture, and change the posture with the variation. Yes, this is very rich because we have the main line would be the first violin, but as a variation, we have the contrapoint in the cello, which is the same as before, and we have this duet between second violin and oboe. Yeah, and all this you should bring into your beat, of course. Yes, and not only beat. Yeah, okay. So,
Question.
Yeah.
You talk about this duet between second violin and oboe. Would you consider also what the flute is playing there a part of that, or would you consider that as separate?
No, that has to do with each other.
So you think it?
Yes, of course, it's quasi a triad. Yeah. Yes, yeah. But the flute is the ending. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or bum, bum, bim, bum, bum. That is, of course, the ending. Yes. Now, 54, 56, 50, where the crescendo starts. We have bum, 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 B, and the first violin stays on the E the whole time as an organ punct, and the second violin is leading the strings. So now you have to conduct the second violins because they are leading the harmonies. Yes, not the first violin. Yeah? Is that clear? Mm-hmm. Yes? And it goes to the climax in the forte, and then in my score there is a subito piano. This should be subito piano. It's not in this score, I think, and the musicians have an old-fashioned score. But there should be this is subito piano.
On the one.
On the one, yes, 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 yes. You should know about that. So now for a balance example, in 61, that is the forte. What is important to hear? What should we hear? So, can you tell me? What is in the diminuendo bar?
Oh, it's a 30-second note.
Yes, the second violin is very important. Da, 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 da. If you do not hear this, it's wrong. Yeah. So the sforzato and the forte of the winds and of all the other strings should only be that loud that you can really hear the second violins. And you of course have to give your energy for the second violins, not for anybody else. Yeah, to make that clear. Yeah. Now, the same process as a variation and so on. So, was another thing I wanted to talk about? Yeah. So, where's the climax in this movement? Of course, there is a climax.
One question about the climax. Well, maybe after the.
No. Now, why not?
I mean, every movement has a climax, or minuetto, for example, it hasn't, or.
A minuet, not in this sense of a climax, no. Not in this sense of the climax, yes. But of course, in the minuet, the main part is the first part. Mm-hmm. Then we have a trio, and then a repeat, and the repeat is only a repeat. It's not the climax, no. In this, no. Yeah, only Beethoven changed this. In,
romantic concept.
yes, 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 yes.
I'm tempted to say measure 148. 148.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So there is that is this moment. Yeah. Climaxes can be points, or how do you say Fläche?
Surfaces.
Yes, surfaces, yes. Those both possibilities we have, to have a surface or a point. This is a surface, yes? This is not really one point. And Beethoven, in this moment, does not write any sforzati. Not, yes, there are no sforzati. The whole thing, the whole passage here is quasi cantabile. Yeah, that is very important for this moment. If he would have had sforzati or accent, he would have written that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any questions to this sentence, to this movement? Or to what I was trying to say?
In Bhagavad Gita there is no sforzati also about one.
In the last bar, there is one.
Okay.
There is one, but only there. Only there. Yes, yes, yes. I know. Okay. So now Brahms. Let's look into the third movement of the third symphony, third movement. So first of all, this is a very, very special movement, I must say. And very interesting is that in the cello part, there is no dynamic. So the cellists, they only see mezza voce espressivo, which is strange enough. Mezza voce is the opposite of espressivo. So it's between mezza voce, yes, it's fearful. It's full of fear. Yes. Then he writes the espressivo and then the crescendo, decrescendo together with the viola. Then the third bar is a variation of this, and then we have 3 bars without any dynamic, which is very important. This is the middle part of the phrase. Then we have 2 bars with a crescendo and a quasi-climax, which is not defined. There is no dynamic. And we have an ending, but we do not have an ending, but there is a modulation in the double bass with this small crescendo in bar 12, and we come back to the key. And the same process starts with the violin. So now, if I were you, I would think a very long time about this phrase, how the disposition of this phrase. You really have to know how you want to have this phrase, because at the moment the cellists play quite beautiful, but without any sense, I must say. It's still not clear. For example, they should start the upbeat is a motif. It's not the dotted motif is a motif which is important for the whole music, and the dotted motif starts again with the upbeat of the third bar. It's not da da dee da da dee da da da, but da da dee 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 dee. A singer would breathe there. Yes, and this is quasi a song, yeah, and you should make them dee 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 dee, so that we all feel it's not a long line, but it's structured into variations. Yes, then we have da dee dee da da da, which is more of because of the interval. We have a passage, a passive passage, and then we have an active passage to the climax. With this morning, you push them. I think you need not to push them if you just give them the energy. So this morning it sounded like poco stringendo, but it was if the disposition is natural, they will do. I mean, could we sing? Dee da dee. Dee da dee. It works from itself. If you really know about these rules of active and passive phrases. That's why I'm talking about this. It's so important for this music. Yeah. Okay.
If it's time to have a question, because here in Brahms this is clearly written how it works, but sometimes it's not. So we have to decide or how it's working, like in the passive and active phrases.
Yeah, I think you have to search it. To search
Okay,
it,
so
not to decide.
Yes, just okay.
Yes, that is a difference.
Okay.
It's not a decision. The decision comes out of the character of the music. That's what I try to talk about the whole time. Yes, I try to find absolutely the Gesetze, the laws of the phrase, and there are laws in the phrase. And you have to search for that. That's why I ask you to think about this phrase very long, very long. Not just decide to do things,
yes, okay,
but find the laws in the music. Yeah, that makes a big difference. You understand what I mean? Yeah? Okay.
So, I have another question. In this movement or in this symphony, it's easier to use this position, I mean, with first, second, violas and cellos for these connections of lines that are...
That's a long story. This is very, very complicated. If you have the violins here and the violins there and the cello and it's fantastic for some passages, yeah, and for some passages not. So all these different Sitzordnung, seating orders, yes, have good side and bad sides. There does not exist a real good one. Yes.
And do we know how? Like when Brahms was
in Meiningen, where this was yes, this was first violin, second violin here, brace, cello, yes. But on other places, it was not like this. Yeah. Okay. So now the mezza voce phrase in the violin is of course richer. Yes, because the cello has a real contrapoint now. So that is a variation, and we have the syncopes into the clarinet that is already richer, already more active. Then we come to Anton, and there is a very important word, dolce, sudden dolce. When does Brahms write dolce? In which moments? It's fine, you do not have an answer, because it depends on the moment. Yes, there's not a rule, but this is a very special moment. He wants this very special moment, another color, and in this moment it's a reduction. Yes, when I was in the school in Köln, my teacher said dolce means reduction. Yeah, it reduces the energy. And the espressivo, it makes it lighter. And this is, in this moment, I would say yes. Yes, and because it's not only dolce, but also pianissimo. So, but before you have mezza voce. That is strange, is it? So it's a reduction, because the second, the variation is richer. He reduces, and the instrumentation, yes. So now, very hard. In 31, he writes diminuendo. We are in pianissimo and dolce, and then he writes again dolce. He again wants a special moment. Another composer would have written more P. Brahms only gives us the sign to be aware of a new atmosphere. And this diminuendo it's very important that the musicians in this E major moment really feel this new key. Yes. So then there we have this small crescendo, this very small crescendo in the clarinet and bassoon and bass. I would ask you to really conduct this with this small moment, crescendo and diminuendo. They do quasi nothing and only, yeah. But this is very important. Yeah, this.
Ah, okay.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Now, the bridge before B. 3 bars before B. We have triplets in the cello leading to clarinet. First to the second clarinet, then to the first clarinet. This line should not be disturbed in the sense that if you do does not make sense. It could make sense if you do that would be possible. Did you understand the difference? Yes. If Brahms writes diminuendo, he means passive phrase. Diminuendo means passive phrase. It's always passive, always. Diminuendo is not only a sign for getting softer, poco a poco, but it's always a sign to relax. So this is a bridge, yes, and he writes the diminuendo 1 bar before B in the clarinet. So there is a sign that you may take a little time, but there is a difference between taking time and doing ritardando. And this difference, I must say, is very important for everybody. There is a difference between ritardando and taking time. Ja? Also das, was ich zögern, what
because ritardando is again a very active process.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Which is not the intention.
No.
When starts?
2 before B, 3 before this.
Yes, quasi with a triplet line.
Okay.
Yes, but he writes the diminuendo quite late. Yes. But you see this. But this is really tricky to balance, these 3 bars. It's very quick too far, too much, and very quick not enough. Yeah. Now, mezzo piano espressivo. This is much more than the beginning. Mezza voce espressivo, now mezzo piano espressivo. And until now, I do not really feel this difference. In the beginning, it should be really mezza voce. Then the second variation is mezza voce, but doubled. And now is more. Yes, and this is for the form very important because the passage after B is the result of the first section, and it should be the most rich. Yes, and then we have this special chord in C. In letter C, suddenly the structure is disturbed, and we have this magic modulation chord, like irritation. Yes, and then we start the waltz in the wrong time. Yes, this is typical Brahms. That we have. Yes, yes. This he does this. So the public will hear the first beat in where the third is, and you really should conduct it like that. So it's a mixture between 1, 2, 3 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and because of this notation, there is a resistance. You understand?
Es ist wie ein Auftakt, meinen Sie?
Ja, und der Auftakt ist wie eine 1.
Genau.
Okay? And that is so important to feel this Widerspruch, this
Contradiction.
Contradiction, yeah. Yeah? More than, yes. Okay, now we have a long passage with D, dum, dum, D, dum, small diminuendo, and suddenly, 2 bars before Dora, they do not happen. And that is the moment it's only clarinet and fagot, but no flute. Yes, and this moment should be less, a lot less active. And then you, Dora, again. Yes. So now this position for the espressivo in 671. He writes piano espressivo. The leading line is of course the first line, but there is a contrapoint in the second violin. Please, please, please work on that. Yes, the second violin is for the harmonic and everything extremely, extremely important. It's not a line, a single line and accompagno, but it's contrapoint. Yes, and then he writes crescendo plus crescendo, doubles. That means active and molto, and we have a climax in forte with a double bass in this fantastic entrance double bass. Yeah, this should be really more espressivo. Oh yeah, and the long line, da, 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 2 bars in 1 bow. And perhaps portamento, not duo, yes? And this interval is so expressive. And now letter E, what happens in letter E? Before letter E, there is an active diminuendo, and then he writes diminuendo. What is the difference? Why does he write first Gabel? Wie sagt man Gabel?
This one.
Yes, this one. Yeah, and then diminuendo.
You said for Feder, like if he's writing diminuendo and then, but it's the opposite. First it's this and then diminuendo.
Yeah, yeah. So the first line means molto, because from forte to piano, and then it means please take a little time, because this moment is like the moment in C, is again a moment because in the second bar after C, there is no 1 composed. It's too long, that note. Yeah? Otherwise, you will not have the form. Yes. This was the moment where in the first rehearsal, you really did not know what happened. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, before, you should really know about these very special moments. Yes, if you do not know those moments, you are not allowed to conduct. Yes, yes, and it's piano diminuendo, which means time and diminuendo, and then the waltz starts again in the normal tempo. Yeah. So now the disposition before the corona. He writes corona lunga. Lunga. That means more than you would do without lunga. Okay? Your corona is very normal. I do not feel corona. Yes, and then there is no break between corona and horn. He could have written that. Just breathe, only breathe. Yes, do not put in another quarter. Now, what is so difficult in this bridge to the corona, in this, the 8 bars before, or even more? It's extremely difficult. Yes, he writes piano, then diminuendo and decrescendo, then pianissimo, diminuendo.
And it's the same melody that we were doing a crescendo on the previous page.
Exactly, yes, it's the same melody. So it's the way back for, yes. And if you listen to famous conductors like Karajan, for example, he starts in mindestens mezzo forte there. Yes, to have these, yes. I would not say you should start in mezzo forte, but you should start in a quality of piano which is quite rich.
Yeah, very healthy piano.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that is another quality of piano. And yes, it's not really the piano we normally think. It's Brahms. Brahms loves this quality of piano. It has a corpus. And then you can do the decrescendo, you can take time because of the diminuendo, and you land in pianissimo. And then you have to make the musicians diminuendo. And the woodwinds play piano, not pianissimo. You let them play pianissimo. They take the same dynamic. That's wrong. Because this is piano. This is another idea. Yes, the strings, they go back, and the winds prepare what is coming. You see? That is Janusköpfig. Oh. Yes, something is going down, the other is growing. That are two different, yes, and that makes the resistance again. Yes, because it's ta-di-di, ta-da-di, ya-da-di. Yes, they prepare what is the third part.
Excuse me, this piano, you have said that it should be piano in the winds or pianissimo?
No, piano.
Piano, okay.
Not pianissimo. No, of course not. Yeah, that is what I'm talking about. Yeah, you understand? Okay. And now it's the horn. He has not mezza voce, not mezzo piano, but piano espressivo. So this is in between this, and this is horn solo. And of course, because it's the horn solo, it's the main part here. Yeah, the horn is a symbol for so many things. Horn is Sehnsucht, wie sagt man?
Leidenschaft, anhelo.
Yeah.
Longing.
Longing.
The longing, yes. It's a romantic symbol for longing. Yes. The posthorn letters. It has to do with Abschied. Wie sagt man Abschied?
Farewell.
Farewell. Yes. In our days, we do not have farewell. We lose this quality of farewell because we have internet and we can have telephones. We can.
But we have farewell just seeing.
But
Somebody saw the message and this is the farewell.
Yes, but the quality of farewell. Yes, in those days, if somebody really went away, he was away for weeks, for years perhaps. You can send a letter. Yes. So the farewell had another quality. So and these horn solos are symbols for this, no? Okay, and so on. At the very end, Brahms does not write a fermata, but he composes the fermata. Yeah. So he gives you. He wanted that you know how long this note is. If you would have written a fermata, you would be allowed to do ritardando, but not in this structure, because yes, it's composed. Yeah, of course you can take time, but there's a difference between taking time and ritardando. Yeah, you come to an end and you relax, but not active ritardando, because the climax is before. Yeah, in the forte.
Sure.
Okay?
And
okay.
This change, the harmony changing, how do you prepare? I mean, I didn't analyze it, but it's like so surprising that you are, maybe you have to prepare something to this moment.
Yeah, there is in letter I, there is the correspondence to this chord I was talking about, letter E. Yes, there is no beat. You cannot feel the beat in the first beat. You do not feel it. So this has to do with fearness. Yes, and yeah. Brahms is searching something, and again searching, and the harmonies change four times, and then it leads to a conclusion and to a result. Yes. And of course, you are allowed to take time for these small word crescendo. Of course, you're allowed to do. Otherwise, it would be senseless here. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? No. Am I talking too much?
No.
No? Okay. Do you want to go on? Some Schubert? Schubert 5, first movement. Schubert 5, first movement. Do you have the score?
Yes.
Yes. So, first thing is again keys. B flat major. What? That's a very spring. It's spring. Schumann 1. Mozart 595. Daram, daram, dadi, dadam. Yes, B flat major is spring. It's light. It's very special. Very, very beautiful key. If you have to decide to beat in 1 or 2, what do you win if you do in 1? What do you win if you do in 2? Well,
oh, I'm sorry. I feel like if you're in 1, you gain more line. But
in 2, you can't.
The allegro will be of course, if not maybe it's more horizontal.
yes.
I think
yes.
if you do it in 2, you can have a more refined articulation.
That is true.
But I guess this is also a question of where the phrase is passive and where it's active. I mean, we can take them in
The main question should be: did Schubert think in double bars or not?
Yes.
Yeah. How can you easier build this up? Can we sing dee doo dee doo doo once and yeah, that's the cadence, is it? And you fit in this cadence. You fit in the first violins and let them just play. Can we do once more? And yes, and the theme yum bum bum yum bum bum. So you can really conduct double bars. If you do this in 2, that is very, very hard. Of course, let's do it again and. You feel this? It's very simple.
Can you change from 1 to 2?
Yeah, but there is no need, I think. This is, wie sagt man, schweben?
Floating.
Floating. This is so floating music. Yum, bum, 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 yum, bum, bum, bee. Yeah, and there's no earth. It's, yeah. So I would suggest to try this in 1. Try, and you will win a lot. You will lose some articulation, perhaps, if you have a bad orchestra. If not, you will not lose. Yeah, because Schubert, all his symphonies are in double bars. Yes, all the first one. So take the big beat for him, and it's much. You have the chance to phrase in 4 and 8 bars. Yes, otherwise it's too small. And Schubert is the master of lines, and yes, is a master of große Flächen, sagt man, big surfaces. Yes. So I wanted to talk about this. Schubert is a singer. That is very important for his music. If he does not write accents, he wants the music singing. Yeah, there were many too many accents. But if there is an accent, like in 19, and these accents are not only accents, but diminuendos. Schubert's accents are not accents in the sense of Stravinsky, sondern P, yeah, flehend. That makes the music so melancholy. Flehend, I don't know the word. Flehend, crying in a sensible way. Mourning, yes. And in letter A, this is bar 25, I did not hear that it's coming back to pianissimo. Yeah, and it's still, it should sing. It should sing the whole time. Even in the accents, yeah. Then there is extremely Schubert, sudden sforzati, forzato. That's very rough, yes. But then come back to music, singing music. 53, yam badam pampida, not dam da 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 dam no. Let them sing, yes, yeah. Do you know the more than 100 songs he wrote? Oh, a lot more. Yeah, so for example, yet you can beautifully see this in bars 267, 8, 9, 300, no, 270. There's the legato line in the woodwinds. Can you see that?
We have no line on this.
Ah, it's this phrase here. It's before the end.
Ah, right.
Before the second. And you see in the yes, and the woodwinds you see the legato, and of course the strings should underline this legato. Not yeah, and that's the same technique as Beethoven does in the Second Symphony. Yes, the same sin of legato phrases with 8 notes. Not yeah. That's very important. Yeah. So what else here? In the middle part, in the second part, after the double bar, he starts pianissimo in D flat major. Yes. The sequenza in G flat major is another color. Yeah, so we have a sequence, and then there's a third sequence. Oh, sorry. Second is second is B flat minor. This is an active process. We have D flat major, B flat, is active. Then passive again, G flat, and active E flat major, E flat minor at the end. You understand?
No.
It's not continuously passive.
Okay.
That is very important.
So the harmony changing is active. That's what you say?
Yes, it's light, active, and the same, and the whole sequencer is in the whole way passive. Yes, but normally we have three sequences, only 3, but he writes 4 because it's doubled. Yes, light, active, Yeah. Mozart mostly writes only 3, and they are passive. But this is extremely different from that, and you have to know that. Okay. Any questions to Schubert? No. Okay. Now, would you like to look in the finale, in the first movement of the fourth? Yes? Let's do this. We should finish? Okay.
How many? So we can move to another place, maybe. No. If you would like to.
Oh, I can talk to him. We can talk together.
The table is.
Yeah. That we can do this. We can do this. 2 minutes. Do you have any questions? Any wishes?
Actually, if you plan to talk to him about drums, I would be happy to talk with you about your.
Okay, you want to be. So let's go together into the where the sofas are.
Let's continue outside.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. I thought I was not so sure whether you want or not.